balance of budget?
Here's Mr. Pollet. He was our star witness, and you should direct your non-political questions to him. And your political questions, we're not just going to answer them.
It was mentioned that this had carried so many limitations that it's almost like you don't want anyone to have one. How is that statement wrong by Mr. Whitley?
I don't think that's a fair characterization. I think this is an extraordinary benefit, and we recognize that it requires a certain set of criteria to meet that benefit. And let's talk about what those are. We want to encourage businesses to invest in high unemployment, low-income areas. Very hard to disagree with. That's what economic incentives ought to be about. We want to make sure that they're focused on job creation, not just retention. As we are in a growing economy, that's absolutely critical. And the idea that we have disclosure to understand that there are, in fact, no tax implications being for the company seems critical to making the decision in the first place. So I think these are all very fair and reasonable and preserve the competitive nature.
How does this compare to other states' packages? I mean, I know you've probably had to have done a lot of research.
So there are not a lot of states that provide what is called a monetized edge deal. And so in the sense that there is a program and a set of criteria against which companies could meet to get a monetized edge credit, this is still an aggressive competitive program to make sure that Illinois drives our economy forward and creates jobs.
Speaker, when we hear from businesses, a lot of times they say we don't, or at least the business community, the business groups say they don't want to come to Illinois because it's so unstable fiscally. So how do you address that? I mean, this seems just like a small cog in terms of the larger business issue.
Well, there's two aspects to your question. So the first part would relate to what Director Pollet is speaking to, and relates to my desire to amend the Illinois tax code so that at the end of the day it's balanced and is helpful to Illinois business. On the fiscal side, that's what the budget making and tax policies are all about. And I think you know that I've developed a record in the legislature where on fiscal matters I'm considered to be a conservative. And that's how I would approach the situation.
What about this notion that the House is going forward with a budget that includes the tax increase, but no tax increase votes, or sign that there are the votes? Have you done a head count, and is it possible to do a vote without that?
We're working our roll call, and our purpose in advancing the budget first is to set the bar against which we will work to convince people to vote for the revenue.
So if you vote for the spending bill, you pretty much got to vote for the revenue bill? Is that what you tell your own caucus?
We don't talk to people like that. You know, we try to persuade people, we try to cajole people. We're not in the business of issuing threats.
But if I vote for the spending bill, then I'm on bad paper if I don't vote for the revenue. It's like I want my cake, but I don't want to break an egg.
Let me just repeat what I said earlier. We're attempting to establish a bar, and we're going to work against that bar to pass the revenue.
Concerns about the constitutionality of passing the spending plan without the tax increase?
That's the fiction of another journalist who's not with us right now.
Well, when would this happen? When would the spending vote take place, do you think?
Well, we're working on all of these matters. There's 2.5 weeks left in the session. And we'll be here. We'll be on our job.
How many votes do you think you need to pick up there?
We're not at that point yet.
You haven't done the full squeeze?
Well, as I said earlier, we don't engage in tactics like that. We try to work with people, persuade people, cajole people.
How are you trying to persuade people? What can you say?
Well, we talk in terms of their view of where the state should be, what the state should be doing for its citizens. They're all policy-oriented conversations. You really enjoy them.
I mean, isn't there some benefit, though, in going through an elections process like we are and having it basically be a referendum on this tax question? I mean, deciding after the election.
I see you're going into the political arena, and I told
you are a political strategist.
Questions. We're not going to take those questions today. Maybe tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
So May 31st, the deadline.
Thanks, Adam.
For the spending, or can you do the spending?
Don't worry about the deadline.
Oh.